At 3:17, the traffic lights forgot to change. A bird stayed hanging between two buildings. Nobody blinked, nobody breathed, except me. Coffee tipped, but never reached the ground. A train was waiting halfway into the station. Someone was laughing with their mouth still open. I called out just to hear what my own voice sounded like without anyone answering. I always thought I'd know exactly what to do. Turns out freedom is quieter than I imagined. 5 minutes, that's all the world gave me. No applause, no miracles, no second chance. Waiting in the street, so I walked like nobody had ever seen me before. Maybe they never really did. I sat on the edge of a closed bus stop, read the same billboard 3 times in a row, counted the cracks running through the sidewalk. Funny, I noticed everything once. There was nobody left to impress. Silence isn't empty, it just doesn't rush to explain itself. 5 minutes, long enough to lose the version of me I kept carrying around. No headlines, no fireworks, just a city holding its breath while I learn how to do the same. Then a pigeon finished its flight. The train rolled forward, someone dropped their phone. A child kept crying from the exact same note. The world stitched itself together like nothing had happened. Maybe nothing had, maybe it only happened to me. At 3:17, everything stopped. At 3:22, everything continued. The streets forgot, the clocks agreed. The people never knew, but every now and then, when the city gets impossibly quiet, I still wonder if those 5 minutes were the first time I ever heard my own life without all the noise. Sometimes I catch myself waiting for 3:17 again. Not because I want the world to stop, just because for 5 impossible minutes I finally did. I finally did. Found it underneath the passenger seat. Yellow plastic scratched at the edge. 24 chances, 23 gone. You said don't waste the last one. I laughed and pointed it at the sky instead. The beach was louder than we remembered. Salt on our sleeves, sand in our shoes. Nobody smiled when the flash went off. We were already busy living it. Funny how the things you never develop stay the clearest. I still haven't turned it in, not because I'm scared they're blank. I'm scared they'll prove we were exactly as happy as I remember. Leave it unopened, leave it in the drawer. Some moments fade better before they're seen. I moved apartments twice, changed the curtains, changed my number, changed the coffee shop on Sundays. But every time I pack a box, that little camera ends up in the next room with me, like it already knows where I'm going. Pictures don't get older, people do. Maybe that's enough reason. I still haven't turned it in. The film is probably tired by now. Maybe the colors are gone, maybe the light leaked through. But I'd rather lose the photograph than lose the version of us that only exists while nobody knows what's inside. One day I'll pick it up, walk into the little shop with the faded sign. I'll wait for my name, open the envelope, and if every picture comes out wrong, maybe that's exactly how that summer deserves to be remembered. I still haven't turned it in, not because I'm holding on, not because I can't let go, just because for 24 quiet frames, time forgot to keep moving, and somehow so did I. It's still there under a stack of old receipts, waiting like it never learned what too late was supposed to mean. My room glows blue, the city's still awake outside my window. Somebody's laughing down the street, somebody's calling somebody home. My phone lights up one more time, I don't read the name, I already know what it wants from me. One tap, a tiny airplane in the corner of my screen. It's funny, the world's still there, I'm just not inside it anymore. Airplane mode for a little while, I disappear without going anywhere. Every light stays on, every clock keeps counting, every train still finds its station, but none of it can find me. For these quiet minutes, the world keeps turning without my name in it. No vibration, no unread numbers, no tiny red circles asking for another piece of me. The silence doesn't feel empty, it feels like taking off a jacket I've worn for too many years. Outside, nothing changes, inside, everything does. Maybe peace was never a place, maybe it was always one body away. Airplane mode, no expectations, no explanations, no where are you? No, can you call me back? Just one impulse. messages will come back, the noise will come back. Tomorrow will remember exactly who I am, but tonight, let me stay deleted just a little longer. Airplane mode, not running away, not hiding, just borrowing a few quiet minutes from a world that never stops asking. The city's still alive, the moon's still hanging there. Everyone keeps moving, everyone keeps becoming someone. And for one beautiful moment, I'm nobody, not lonely, not lost, just free enough to disappear. The little airplane fades, the signal returns, so does my name. But somewhere between online and offline, I finally met the quiet version of me. On time, everybody steps inside like they already know where this day is going. Coffee in my left hand, keys in my right, a smile that almost works, a battery that won't. Low battery, the screen asks enable power saving mode. I wish people came with that. 1%, that's all I've got today. Not enough to fall apart, not enough to feel okay. Just enough to answer when they call my name, just enough to pretend I'll make it home the same. Tell me, where do people charge when sleep isn't enough? The sunset through an office window, it looked expensive, like something I couldn't afford today. My favorite song came on, I skipped it, not because I didn't love it, because I couldn't carry one more feeling. Every outlet is made for phones, nobody tells you where to plug in a tired heart. Glowing traffic never slows. Everybody somewhere they're supposed to be. I'm still looking for the place that remembers how to recharge me. Maybe it isn't a place, maybe it isn't a person, maybe it isn't tomorrow. Maybe I've been searching for a charger that doesn't exist. 1%, the screen hasn't gone black, neither have I. Still breathing, still walking, still answering, still here. Maybe that's what 1% really means. Not almost finished, just hoping something small is enough to keep the light on until morning. No notification, no warning, just one quiet number in the corner of my life. 1%. Three little dots gone back again, like a thought. changing its mind before it becomes a sentence. I stare long enough to imagine every version you never sent. It's strange, silence can move. I've seen it. 3 tiny dots crossing a screen without ever arriving. Typing, maybe this was the closest we ever came to saying everything. Not hello, not goodbye, just words, holding each other's hands before letting go. I built whole conversations out of almost a smile you never typed, a joke you probably deleted, a question that made it all the way to your fingertips, then nowhere. Some sentences don't disappear, they just live inside the backspace. Typing, the longest distance I've ever known wasn't between you and me, it was between. I'll send it, and I won't. Maybe the message was inside, maybe it wasn't important, maybe it only said hey. But somehow the words that never reached us grew bigger than the ones that did. Typing 3 little dots, a whole universe trying to exist. Then nothing, no notification, no ending, just one unfinished moment that somehow kept going long after the screen went dark. I don't remember the last message, only the moment right before it almost became real. I learned pretty young that mistakes on a screen don't stay mistakes for long. A shortcut, a click, a second chance waiting behind every wrong move. Funny, I believed the rest of life worked that way too. Somewhere along the way, the keyboard stayed the same, only the rules changed. Undo, I've looked for you in places you were never meant to exist. One wrong sentence, one train that left, one door I closed a little too fast. If life had a shortcut, I'd probably wear the letters off the keys. Emails can be unsent, files can be restored, photos find their way back from the trash. But a voice that decided to stay quiet never asked to be recovered. I still remember the weight of words I never let become real. The hardest things to lose never disappear, they just become the version that never happened. Undo, not because I hate who I became, just because sometimes I wonder who I'd be if one ordinary afternoon had ended one sentence differently. Computers ask, are you sure? Life never does it simply waits for your hands to stop shaking and calls that a decision. Undo, maybe I never wanted to erase the past. Maybe I just wanted 5 more seconds before pressing enter. Long enough to breathe, long enough to stay, long enough to choose the version of myself that wasn't afraid. Somewhere there's a life saved under a different file name. I don't need to open it, I just hope it turned out okay. I held the door for someone. I never looked it twice. They said thanks. I said no problem. By tomorrow, neither of us would remember the other's face. The crosswalk changed, the crowd moved on, so did I. How many lives have I walked through without knowing I was there? Maybe I'm just passing through, a face in the corner, a voice in the distance, the stranger who happened to be standing there when somebody's story changed forever, and I'd never know. Someone laughed behind me. A little kid pointed at the sky like he'd found something impossible. I looked up to, saw nothing. Maybe I was looking 1 second too late. Not every moment knows it's becoming a memory. Maybe I've been walking through hundreds of favorite scenes without realizing I belonged in the background all along, not forgotten, just uncredited. The cafe remembers my order. The old man walking his dog nods every morning. The cashier smiles before I do. Maybe I've already existed inside more stories than I'll ever hear. NPC, not because my life isn't important, because someone else's might have brushed against mine for a single second and carried that moment much farther than I ever could. Maybe I wasn't the hero. Maybe I wasn't supposed to be. Maybe I was simply the right person standing in the right place at the exact moment someone needed the world to feel alive. Tomorrow I'll disappear into another crowd, and somewhere without either of us ever knowing, I'll become part of somebody's story. I again. The coffee tastes exactly like yesterday. The train knows where I'm going before I do. The same hallway, the same elevator, the same see you tomorrow. Like tomorrow was already written before I woke up. Nobody told us when it started. One day it just became the way things are. Maybe I've been following a road that learned my footsteps every morning. Looks for me before I even open my eyes. Every evening knows which light I'll leave on. Sometimes I wonder if I stop walking, would the day notice? The cashier already knows what I'll order. The crossing signal changes at the same corner. The songs inside my headphones finish at the same street. It's almost beautiful, almost. I keep telling myself there's nothing wrong. Maybe that's what scares me most. Somewhere there must be a street I've never taken, a cafe where nobody knows my name, a morning that doesn't begin the way yesterday ended. I don't want a different life, I just want one day that surprises me. What if I miss the train on purpose, turn left instead of right, ignored the map, forgot the plan? Would the world keep going, or would I finally meet myself halfway? Maybe we were never meant to repeat the same page forever. Maybe the story changes the first time someone decides not to follow the arrows. Tomorrow the alarm will ring, the city will call, the streets will wait. But maybe, just maybe, I'll keep walking after everyone else turns back. Somewhere beyond my usual road, there's a version of me I've never met. I think it's time I let them find me. I missed my stop, not by accident. I just kept looking out the window until the street stopped having names I recognized. Nobody was waiting, nothing was planned for once that felt like enough. Every map tries to bring you back. I closed mine. Maybe the road I was supposed to take was never mine. Maybe getting lost was the first decision that actually belonged to me. Call it a detour, call it wasting time, I'll call it the first day I didn't rush home. The record store with the lights still on, a dog asleep outside a bakery, someone laughing through an open window. None of it was waiting for me, that made it feel honest. I wasn't searching for anything. The day simply kept introducing itself. Nobody gives directions to places find. Maybe the best parts don't appear on the main road. Maybe they're hidden inside the moments people usually skip. If I'd arrived exactly on time, I would have missed all of this. Tomorrow I'll probably take the usual train, answer the usual calls, walk the usual streets. But now I know there's another version of the city waiting one stop farther, and maybe another version of me. Maybe life was never asking me to move faster. Maybe it was only asking if I'd ever look up long enough to notice the road without footprints, the one nobody recommended, the one without signs, the one that doesn't promise anything except the chance to become someone I've never been. I wasn't late, I wasn't lost, I just spent one ordinary afternoon following a story that wasn't on my schedule. The city disappeared without making a sound. Buildings folded into white. The street I walk every morning forgot where it was going for once. So did I. Funny, nothing changed, I just couldn't see so far anymore. Maybe I don't need the whole horizon. Maybe one more step has always been enough. The road doesn't have to promise me where it ends, only where to place my next foot. The traffic lights glowed like white stars, voices drifted past without faces. Even the river felt smaller, like it had decided to keep its secrets until tomorrow. I stopped trying to look ahead, everything became lighter. Some days clarity asks too much. Today the fog asked for nothing. Maybe getting lost was never the danger. Maybe believing I had to know everything was. I kept searching for the finish line while the morning kept handing me beautiful little beginnings. The world didn't become smaller, it simply moved close enough to touch. One tree, one lamp, one breath, one more step. That was all the day wanted from me. From me. When the fog finally lifted, I almost wished it hadn't, because somewhere between what I couldn't see and what I didn't need to, I found a quieter way to keep walking. Not fearless, not certain, just willing to trust the next step before the next answer. just somewhere between another headline, another conversation, another reason to keep looking down. All at once the world kept moving without making a sound. That's when I noticed my footsteps had their own rhythm. I just never heard them before. The traffic still flowed, the lights still changed. Everyone kept talking with invisible words. Nothing stopped, nothing slowed, only the noise finally stepped aside so I could hear my own life walking beside me. A bicycle rolled by, leaves argued with the wind. My jacket sleeve brushed against my hand. Someone smiled across the street, I couldn't hear a thing. Strangely, I understood all of it. Silence wasn't empty, it had been waiting under everything else. No opinions, no endless echoes, no race to answer first. Just a heartbeat keeping perfect time with a pair of shoes that had forgotten they were always trying to catch up. I spent so long turning the volume up, thinking that's where life was. It wasn't. Life had been hiding in the quiet spaces between every sound I was afraid to lose. The city never became smaller, it simply stopped speaking over me. For the first time I wasn't listening to everyone else tell me where to go. I was listening to the person who had been walking with me all along. I never muted the world, I only remembered how to hear myself. I don't laugh as loud anymore, not because nothing's funny. I just learned how to save a little energy for the walk home. I leave messages until tomorrow. I let the phone ring one more time. I keep saying later, like later always arrives. Somewhere without noticing, I stopped choosing what I wanted and started choosing what cost less. Low power mode, I turned down more than the brightness. I dimmed the parts of me that used to reach first. Smaller dreams, shorter answers, quiet. became the default. I stopped taking the longer way home. Stopped buying flowers just because they looked alive. Stopped playing the songs that made the train ride feel too short. Not because I stopped loving them, because feeling everything all at once felt too expensive. No warning, no flashing icon, just tiny pieces of myself switching off one by one. Low power mode every day still worked. I still showed up, still smiled, still answered I'm good. From the outside, nothing changed inside. I had been closing windows no one else could see. Phones return to normal with one tap. People don't. Sometimes we forget which habits kept us alive and which ones kept us from living. Low power mode, maybe I wasn't protecting my battery. Maybe I was protecting my heart from another long day of pretending it could keep glowing without resting. So tonight I'll leave one light on, take the longer road, play my favorite song all the way through. Not because I'm fully charged, just because I don't want to spend my whole life saving energy I'll never get back. Tomorrow might drain me again, but not tonight. Tonight I'll live like the battery was never the point. The little circle spins, checks for something, waits, then quietly decides there's nothing new. I wonder how many mornings I've done the very same thing. Wake up, look around, wait for a feeling that never downloads. Nobody notices when hope stops asking for permission to become tomorrow. No updates available. I've worn the same version of myself for longer than I meant to. The cracks aren't bugs, the silence isn't broken. I just don't remember the last time I became someone new. The wallpaper changed, the seasons changed. People learn new streets, new names, new dreams. I kept saying soon, as if tomorrow had been waiting patiently outside my door. Some changes don't arrive all at once. They leave one quiet habit at a time. No updates available. Maybe I wasn't standing still. Maybe I was carrying an old map through a city that had already moved on. Nothing crashed, nothing failed. I just kept walking with directions that no longer led anywhere. What if growing up was never supposed to feel like becoming someone else? What if it was only remembering almost missed it. I cleared the desk, folded the letters, deleted the pictures one by one. The room looked lighter, the shelves looked clean. Funny how a place can feel empty while your hands still remember where everything used to be. Some things don't stay because you hold on, they stay because you never found the right goodbye. Recycle bind, gone but not completely. One quiet corner where yesterday waits without making a sound. I never asked to have it back, I just couldn't bring myself to empty it. A ticket from a train I barely remember, a receipt for coffee that tasted like ordinary conversation, a blurry photograph that never meant to become important. None of them asked to be saved, somehow they all stayed. Maybe memories don't knock, maybe they simply sit where we leave them, hoping we'll look back one more time. Recycle bun, not forgotten, not restored, just waiting without asking to be chosen. Some days I almost press empty, some days I close the window instead. People say letting go happens all at once. I don't think so, I think it happens one ordinary object at a time. One drawer, one jacket, one song, one name. Recycle bind, maybe moving on was never about erasing everything. Maybe it's learning that not every memory needs a future to deserve a place in your life. So I'll leave one small corner untouched, not because I'm waiting, because some chapters don't need another ending. I never restored what I lost, I simply learned that not everything left behind needs to disappear.